Big Conversations, Little Bar, with your hosts Randy Florence and Patrick Evans, featuring candid conversations with the Coachella Valley's most interesting and influential people. Pull up a bar stool and enjoy Big Conversations, Little Bar.
Welcome to another episode. Big Conversations, Little Bar. Patrick Evans and myself are here at the heart of Coachella Valley, Little Bar on Highway 111. Patrick.
And, of course, that's the voice of Randy Florence, my co-host, partner in crime, Big Conversations, Little Bar. And we once again want to give a shout-out to Skip Page, proprietor and owner of Little Bar, for letting us sit here.
Have we mentioned Skip Page?
I don't know that we have. We should turn the page. No.
Oh, my.
That's terrible. We are really excited about our guest today. Judith Chapman is here.
Hi, Patrick.
Hello there. And, of course, people will know you as Gloria on Young and the Restless. And we'll talk a little bit. But you just mentioned when we were sitting here chit-chatting that you started at the young age of 14 in spaghetti westerns.
I did.
I want to hear a little bit more about that, and then we'll talk about some of the current things you're doing. But
go flash forward half a century.
Just a few years.
It's a short podcast, but we want to get it all in.
I love the name of your broadcast. That's what Big Conversations, Little Bar. Well, this place is great. I will be back, whether you're here or not.
A lot of people say that.
Yes, preferably if you're not. First of all, thank you very much for doing this.
My pleasure, Patrick. My pleasure.
You were just recently a guest on Eye in the Desert on News Channel 3, and I just always love having you on the program because you always bring something interesting, and you're doing a play called Aces that's going to be at Oscars.
Oscars in Palm Springs, I haven't done dinner theater in forever, but it's still kind of that, bar, restaurant. You can get a bite to eat, have a cocktail, and watch a show, verging on a little cabaret, a little sexy, stuffy. And so, it's fun. Something new and original, which is what I like to do.
And you're directing that. So.
I am directing it.
And you've got a great cast.
Great cast. Most of them you've known. I've worked with most of them. I was asked to read by Robbie Wayne, formerly of the wonderful theater Desert Rose. And I read it, and I said, okay, this is fun. And we got on stage and we read it, and I said, oh, these gals are great. And after, the playwright was there, Davis, Gilbert Davis, from Texas. And he's there, and he said, oh, you're just fabulous. I said, I do this show in L.A. I really can't commit. And he wanted to run it for 6 months or something ridiculous. And I said, not in this town, it won't run. And I said, but I do have some ideas on how it might be creative and or clever. And lo and behold, I'm directing the whole thing. It was supposed to just give a couple of ideas. And then it was like, oh, Judith, would you co-direct it? And yeah, okay, whatever. And then there was a meeting at a restaurant in Palm Springs with Kitty, who's now producing it and being in it and supplying the wardrobe. Little theater, I love
Kitty
it.
Murray, she's terrific, and she's a cabaret singer. She does
everything.
A great actress. And it's a true story.
It's a true story.
You kind of fictionalize the setting to bring everybody together, but all of these women were
real beauty queens from Texas, and they won. The one who sort of MCs the whole thing, she won in 76. Then she put this whole thing together, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89. You think it was rigged?
So all of these Miss Texases became Miss USA consecutively.
Wow.
And so the play is a little reuniting of them.
35 years later, they're all still drop dead gorgeous. They're all still this big around as my baby finger. But for some reason you think, oh God, all those years ago they must be like, and you Google them and it's like, oh my God, they're drop dead gorgeous still. But so it's kind of a fun thing. But I told Davis, I said, Davis, he said, don't, they're really nice people. And I said, we're going to have some fun with this. So I don't know what he's expecting, but yeah. But all of these gals have really stepped up and let me direct them, and they listened.
Did you have any conversations with the women that the story is about?
No, it's going to be a big surprise if they show up. I don't know if they'll show up or not. But flattery, what is it? Imitation is the highest form of flattery.
That's right. So let's promote it a little bit. What's the run, and where is it going to be?
March the 9th.
Thank you, Patrick. Take it away.
I've got it all in my head because she was just on Eye in the Desert. March the 9th at Oscars.
Yes.
And it's going to be on Thursdays and Fridays running through the 31st of March. Again, Thursdays and Fridays. Tickets are available at oscarspalmsprings.com.
And what a place to have it.
What a place to have it. It's just a small, it's not unlike this, but a little larger. I think they've got 80 seats as opposed to little bars, whatever their seating is. And, but I've told the gals, I said, you're not just looking down at the people in the front row. I said, think you're in Joel Osteen's church. Texas. I said, play it big, baby. So, but yeah. So tonight actually is our first night rehearsing in the theater on the stage in their skimpy little costumes.
That's got to be pretty
exciting. What time is rehearsal? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, come on back. Come on back. Come on down. But it's really cute because it's written in the thing where they have one of these boxes, applause. And the Ann Richards character, the ghost of Ann Richards, the former wonderful, crazy, wonderful governor of Texas, she said, all right, everybody put your whiskey away and, and take a seat and turn off the damn cell phones. and she said, if you feel like hooting and hollering, so I had the set designer, I said, make me another sign that says hoot and holler. So I've got applause, hoot and holler.
I love it.
That's great. I can't wait to see that.
Thank you.
So you were going to start us back in your spaghetti western
days. I want
to,
so appreciate you catching
I love this. Look at, they both got their elbows on the table, leaning in.
Yeah, the spaghetti westerns captured my attention. I love spaghetti westerns.
Who doesn't? I didn't do one with Clint Eastwood.
No.
What about Dean Martin? He was a great spaghetti western.
No. My father, now at Arlington, along with my mother, retired Air Force general. He wasn't a general then, but stationed in Spain at Torrejón Air Force Base outside of Madrid. And my brilliant, also deceased, beautiful sister, we had lived in England. She started modeling with the likes of Twiggy and all the great ones, and she started working when she went to Spain. Well, lo and behold, she was several years older than I, and her agent calls one day and said, listen, Patty, I have an extra part in a commercial. Why don't you let your little sister do it? So I asked can I skip school tomorrow and go make myself 600 pesetas? I think it was like $10 at the time. And she said yes. And so they sent a driver out to the base to pick me up, took me into, and I, because they take siestas in the afternoon. So it was all an evening shoot after school. And a little while later, the agent calls and said, your sister's kind of cute. Why don't we get some pictures and she can, get her some work. Lo and behold, I'm a freshman in high school at this point. And so the start of my sophomore year, I'm going to try out to be a cheerleader. And I get a call to go to work on a new spaghetti, affectionately called spaghetti westerns. That just means they were Spanish-Italian co-productions. And based on loosely 7 Brides for 7 Brothers. So I was going to be the baby sister. So there were 7 sisters, all of them dropped it with these big red wigs and the guys and the thing. And they sent a car for me every single morning. And they said, it's just a week's work. So it's like my parents said, okay, whatever. Well, after about 2 weeks, the school calls and said, Major Shepherd, where's your daughter? And my honest mother said, she's out making a movie. And they said, no, this is unacceptable. So they got the base commander, the principal of the school, my sister, whose Spanish was quite brilliant at this point, my sister translating the heavy production of the play, all meeting. Base commander saying my father could be court-martialed for having me out of school. The principal said I was going to be put back if I missed one more day of work. And then finally the hefty of production for this production, this cowboy movie, says, all right, what we'll do, because we're going to sue your parents, or sue you, Major Shepherd, because we've already done premier planos of your daughter, close-ups. So we're going to sue you for $100,000. Which back in the half century ago was a lot. It was real money. And they said, but what we will do, we will sign Judith up and put her in a nice little Catholic school on the day she's not working. Never saw a day.
But you are, I'm sure, signed up.
Oh,
you just never had to go.
Signed up. So I went up, and it was 6 weeks later. The 6 weeks, I finally got back into school, and they said, you will be put back if you miss one more day of work, or one more day of school to work. And so, but it was midterm exams. I got straight A's.
At 14, they're picking you up in a car every morning.
Absolutely. I mean, I was
Your friends must have been.
rotten, spoiled rotten.
So was it that point that you got bitten by the bug? Was
I
it just
said, this is fun, because one of the things I got to do on this film was ride on top of a train and shoot all the bad guys. No safety nets, nothing. And the director, the Spanish director, who said it was cold shooting out in the country, the out hills of outside Madrid. And sometimes when he said, here, have a little coffee and take a little nip.
you got to keep the actors happy and warm.
Got to keep warm. So yes, and I went, I think I could do this for a living. This is much easier than being a ballerina. So yes, but I would come home and Patty would say, Judy, you have to shoot this commercial this afternoon and take this outfit. And I said, I don't want to. I want to go to the teen club and play with my friends. And she said, if you don't do this job, and she would talk to me, you will never work in this business again. Okay.
Tough agent.
Tough. So that
Well,
was my training.
now I know where you learned about drama.
Now I know what I thought, everything. But yeah, great fun.
So what did that lead to? What was next?
I went back to school. We moved to Texas, of all places, San Antonio, Texas, and I graduated from high school. And, I thought everybody had this kind of upbringing. And then I went to Stevens College in Missouri and got my degree in theater and got bored with that, graduated in 3 years and 2 summers, and went to New York. And I would see, not to be gross, sorry, but somebody spit on the street, and I'd just start gagging, and the bugs and the whole thing. And
Yeah, New York it could be a rough place.
everybody should do time in New York.
Yeah.
It is doing time. But I got lucky. I mean, I can't remember the famous restaurant in Times Square named after a boxer. I mean, it's
Jack Dempsey's.
Jack Dempsey's. And I was in this little apartment, and I thought, I could sleep with the door open, sure, off 9th Avenue, near Madison Square Garden. But I said, I need to get a job. My parents at this time were in Korea. Why I didn't go. But so I was like into the snow, going up to Times Square because they had seen an ad, and I walked, the place was empty. And this big old burly guy comes up and said, what do you want, kid? A job? And he looked at me, and I know he tried not to laugh, and he said, you see that door over there? You see the size of the tray that guy's carrying on his shoulder? I can do it. I'm strong. I know I can. And he just kind of giggled and he said, sit down. Here's a cup of coffee and a piece of cheesecake. Now get out of here. And I went back in the snowstorm back to my little apartment. Oh, God. Crazy.
Did you have a plan B?
Never.
No.
Oh, my sister wanted me to come to Virginia and join a bank. No, I know I couldn't do this. I know I can't.
I grew up in Virginia, and that doesn't sound boring. I know you worked in banking, Randy. I'm not saying banking's boring.
No, it is boring. It took me 39 years to figure it out.
Where in Virginia?
I grew up in Charlottesville. My dad was a professor at UVA.
Nice. I love Virginia. But when you're 20 years old, I graduated.
You're already in New York.
I'm going for it.
The lure of New York from Virginia is big. The lure of Virginia from New York, not so big.
Yeah.
So, as you were there in New York, what was your next break?
Segue. I actually started doing commercials and was auditioning a lot, and then landed As the World Turns. And also, and Robert Lansing, God rest his soul, he's gone. And we did this crazy little film called Scalpel in Atlanta. And I was still auditioning. I auditioned for Princess Leia. George flew me back up to New York. Would I have been a magnificent
You would
Leia
have.
or
You'd
what?
been spectacular. Really? You auditioned?
Yeah.
Here's something
But
I've known you for years. I didn't know that.
I don't want to talk about the ones that got away.
The ones I didn't get. That's so cool. What was auditioning for George like?
Well, I had worked all day on Scalpel, and they flew me to New York, and I just went in straight, and he was just there, nicest guy. How you doing? He said, here's the script. Read for me. I didn't know who he was. I didn't care who he was. I didn't know what Star Wars was. It was just this fun fantasy. And I didn't get the part. So, but that's okay. I got a lot of other ones.
But nobody knew what Star Wars. Like no one had any idea what Star Wars was going to become.
Who knew? Who knew? And I, at that point, was living with a wonderful the cinematographer of this film that we had done, Scalpel, with Robert Lansing. And Robert said, "Get your rear end out of New York. It's time for you to go to Hollywood." And so based on that, I walked into the soap opera and I bought one of those bomber jackets, satin bomber jackets that were really popular at the time, and it had embroidered Hollywood on the back. And I just went, I don't think I'm going to renew my contract. And I said, I'm going to Hollywood. So got on a plane and went to Hollywood.
Did you pretty much know by that point that you were going to make it? This was your career?
I never changed my name. There was my family name is Shepherd. There was another Judy Shepherd in the Union. Ever heard of her?
I don't think so. Not me.
Well, I will tell you who she was, and you will have heard of her. But there are no two actors who have the same last name.
Right, you can't. Union rules prevent it.
Exactly. So I took my grandmother's maiden name, which is Chapman, my father's mother's maiden name. And I said, Grandma, you won't let me use Shepherd and la-di-da. And I said, I'd like to use your... She said, well, I love my name Chapman, but I also love my name Shepherd. I think you should call yourself Chapman Shepherd, and everyone will call you Chappie. And I'm like, oh, Grandma, I can't have two last names. I mean, how cool was she? How cool was she?
Chapman Shepherd.
Yes,
I
know.
kind of like that.
I know. I use it when I write. When I've done some poetry things, and so that's my nom de plume when I write. But I don't know, where was I? Anyway, so...
You're in Hollywood.
So because I never changed my name legally, because I didn't know if I'd make it.
Wow.
I think I made it.
You made it.
You made it.
You're one of the hardest working and most frequently working
Thank you.
people I know around
Well, that's
here.
what I said. I said in my 20s, after college and I moved to New York, I said, Dear Jesus, please let me be a working actor. What I failed to say was, Dear Jesus, please make me an A-list working actor.
Well, I was telling Patrick earlier, I got married in 1981, and I was looking back at, thank you, I was looking back at your history, and I said, I'm guessing that virtually every night, my wife and I were sitting in the front room watching something that you were in. Because during those years of 80, 81, and 82...
I guest starred on all the Glenn Larson stuff, all the Balisario stuff, the two Magnums. The second time I got a call from Murder, She Wrote, Angela, the casting, Ron Stevenson said, she wants you to do another one. I went, really? He said she really liked working with you. I went, great. And she's given you a raise. I'm like, oh, my God. Wow. So I did 4 episodes with her. I did, just got lucky. 5 episodes of Silk Stockings down in San Diego. I went to Canada. And the first time I did Canada was the original MacGyver people. And but I called my agent. I said, get me a job up here. I would move to BC, British Columbia, in a heartbeat.
They do an awful lot of production there.
I know, but I'm done. I think I'm done.
You did a Love Boat, and you played Dick Martin's mistress. I want to know about that. I religiously watched Love Boat. I know I saw that episode, but...
I saw it recently, but I was so ashamed. I mean, I was this... Oh, let me say this. So I was not Judy Chapman. My father admitted to me once, years and years ago, he said, now don't tell your mother, but you are named after Dame Judith Anderson. He said I had a thing for Dame Judith, and I said, I've never heard anybody call her Dame Judy. So Judy was like Susie, Trixie, Pixie, and I was a serious thespian. Do a what? Do a Love Boat? I didn't tell anybody I'd done it for months. And I said, thank God I got to get off in Acapulco. But now I look back on it, and it's just like, that was cool. Jesus, excuse my language. I just got a residual a couple of days ago for a Fantasy Island.
Really?
Fantasy Island and Barnaby Jones were the first 2 things I did when I moved to L.A. And I got a $7 residual for Fantasy Island. Hey.
Wow.
Hey.
Barnaby Jones.
He was so sweet.
Buddy Epson.
Buddy Epson. He was so nice. And during a break, he said, you like orange juice? And I went, yes, sir. So he invited me into his trailer, and he squeezed me a glass of fresh squeezed orange juice, and then played his guitar.
I had a hard time watching Barnaby Jones because Buddy Epson was always just Jed Clampett to me. Yeah. It was just like he was so typecast. So you did Fantasy Island, so you worked with Ricardo Montalban.
I worked with them. I worked with
Airbay.
And the one that I did, it was just all old-time stars. I mean, fabulous character actors, or who was the one in All About Eve with Betty Davis? The blonde, the friend, the ding, 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 ding. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but she didn't like me very much. I was young. I was beautiful.
And that was a problem.
And that was a problem. So, big education.
Is that something that you've dealt with a lot through your career? You've seen that?
Yes, that's the way I feel about young actors.
I thought we might be going the other direction, but
No.
thank you for being honest.
Yeah, it happens. It happens. No, it's, yeah.
How
But-
much harder was it for you as a female coming up?
It never occurred to me that there was any, all this Me Too, hashtag Me Too movement. I mean, it's horrible. For some reason, it never happened to me. And people said, guys just don't want to mess with you. I said, why don't you just poke them in the nose?
See,
Do you think you're willing to sell yourself out that cheaply for a job, for this or
Yeah.
that? So, I mean, that's the way I felt. I was never asked to compromise myself. So.
It's because you always went by Judith. They take that
I
seriously.
was
You were
Judith,
never a
exactly. I was, if I'd been Susie or Trixie or Pixie or Judy.
Dame Judith.
Dame Judith.
Judith.
Well, people have been calling me Norma Desmond since the time I was 25. I finally got old enough to play her. So.
All
What was your
you-
first directing job?
I don't know, because I used to coach people. I used to coach friends, who had a scene to do. So it was just, all right, pour a glass of wine. So, all right, do this. And then I took a class at COD, a directing class with Terry Nicholson, he's not around, I mean, he's still around, but he's retired. And he just became my mentor. I took his acting class, but I took his directing class, and I went, I got a gift for this. And the first thing I did was a Lanford Wilson play at the McCallum. I directed at the McCallum. And I just said, I love doing this. So, long time ago.
How do you balance the two? How do you balance the time directing versus acting, or does it just all fit in?
Thank you, Lord. It fits in. It fits in. I've never been asked to do both at the same time, so.
You said your first soap was As the World Turns,
That's the world turns.
and you were on General Hospital.
I've probably done more soap operas than anybody, and for a time, and I'm almost embarrassed to say this, but when I first moved to California, I was starting to do nighttime and some commercials and whatnot, and they called and asked me, Gloria Monty, the great grande dame of General Hospital. My agent said, Gloria, I want you to audition for General Hospital. I went, no, you don't do soap operas in L.A. You do film or television. No, thank her, but say no. Well, about that time, it was New Year's time, holiday time, and a fellow friend of mine said, you want to go to Mexico? I said, yeah, sure, whatever. I just popped down to Mexico for New Year's, a week of a few days. All of a sudden, coming back to the hotel, I sort of glibly say, any calls for me? And my Spanish is pretty good, so I'm saying it in Spanish. And he said, your agent called. You have to call her right now. And I'm like, oh my God, I never even told her I was leaving town. And I got her on the phone. She said, Judith, I have talked to 6 Mexican operators. I don't speak Spanish. Get your butt back here. Gloria wants you, and you start in 3 days. And I'm like, oh my God. Of course, it's holiday time. All the planes are booked. So my friend and I slightly after a few on New Year's Eve, get on the bus, typical
Oh, dear.
bumping all the way to Guadalajara. He was an actor, and he also had a job, and I said, well, you work first, so you get the standby thing. So I stayed the night in Guadalajara. Finally got a ride. I could only get to Tijuana. I swear this is true. Got to Tijuana, took a bus from Tijuana to Los Angeles, got on a taxi, went to my agents, and I said, I'm here. True story. Bumping,
Last time I took a bus in Mexico, I think the driver was about 15.
Yeah, but you hear these stories of, what is it, the Night of the Iguana. Bumping along. That was it. It was a long time ago.
So how long were you on General Hospital?
I was there, only about 4.5 years. And Gloria was...
That's a good stint.
It was good because I would get tired. of them. And so then I'd go back and do nighttime do nighttime. Well, my first, another one I didn't mention, that it was between me and Victoria Principal for Dallas.
Wow.
I had been recommended just as I was moving to L.A., and I was doing my Annie Hall thing, but with hair frizzed out to here and the baggy things, and kind of like the way I dress now. And went to Lorimar, back in Lorimar days, MGM. Nailed it, but all my bags had disappeared and somehow ended up in Italy. And so my agent said, "Do for the final, for all the heavy honchos." And he said, "I'll go with you." I said, "You don't have to go with me, I'm fine." And I'm in my baggy pants and my curly hair and all this, and in walks the competition. Black spandex pants. You know what, out to here. Black stiletto heels, and over her chest in sparkles the state of Texas, and over her right bosom a burst of star for Dallas. And I just looked at her and I went, "Welcome to Hollywood, Chapman." You were in. Otherwise, in New York, it was pull on the fry boots, the old vintage fur coats that warmed the bed at night. And I said, months later, the casting director said, "You had it hands down," but she came in looking the part.
Wow.
I said, "My clothes were in Italy. What could I do?"
Did that change anything that you did in the future?
No. I got lots of auditions, and I mean, it didn't stop me from working, but I didn't get that one. But years later, James and I, being at his little restaurant, turns out Victoria's Principal's favorite restaurant in Palm Springs was Cafe St. James. And she came in, and I was like, not because of Dallas, but don't look at my man that way. So.
Talk a little bit about James and the restaurant. You guys were together for 20 plus years.
20 some odd years. They said it would never last, and it was just instant. We were living together within 6 months, and people said, "What do you see in him? What do you see in her?" I said, "We've got a lot in common. We have so much." And we traveled the world, and he took me to India and places. I mean, I'd lived all over the world with my family, but he would never impose. When we went to Varanasi, where the cremation ghats in India on the Ganges, and he would just sit back and he would just let me take it all in. He didn't get in my way. He didn't try to control me. He was the wind beneath my wings, and he let me fly. And I said, "Oh, I got this part planned, Vivian Lee, down at the Old Globe. I'm going to be gone for 3 months." "Okay." "James, I got to get a job in LA. I've got to go back to daytime. They've offered me a job on Young and the Restless." And I lived in a hotel for 6 months, and I finally called and I said, "I think this is going to stick." And so I got a little place. He said, "You're never going to come home." And I said, "I'll come home." And so we just had fun. We traveled and ate and drank, and we were both foodies. And
I think for people like you and James, I mean, it was important because he had the restaurant and had his own thing. And
he wasn't intimidated.
Yeah, not intimidated. You guys weren't competing.
No.
You both
No.
were successful at
What we
both
did.
of what you did, and you supported one another.
Yes, absolutely.
And Cafe St. James was
The spot.
an institution.
I know.
in
I was
Palm
very
Springs.
sorry. It was very sorry, and it was just unfortunate. We were in Asia, and the son of the landlord called and said, "Oh, we were coming back, ready to open," and he said, "Now I'm hiking your rent $3,000 a month." He said, "It's still a 50-seat restaurant," and so that's when we moved down the hill, and it took till February to get open for the new St. James, and so we starved together. Sorry, I keep hitting the microphone, John. I'm sorry. But he was just the wind beneath my wings. I said, my daddy gave me my courage. My sister gave me my break to get in this business. My mom said, "Okay, you can do it." And James was the wind beneath my wings. Not my 4 heroes. Yeah. Oh.
That's a great story.
That he was a great guy. He was a great guy, and he's still around. And he's on a big Tibetan urn, his ashes in the kitchen on top of a wine rack. And I still love to cook. I love your cooking shows. I don't catch it all the time, but it's like yeah. And I'd get stuck, and I said, "James, what am I supposed to? I need something." And if I just got quiet and still for a bit, "Oh, okay, that's it. Thank you."
James is still there.
James is still there.
Well, it's before we started recording, you were talking about how you've lost your heroes, your dad and your mom and James and your sister, but they are always still with us.
Oh, they
I mean,
are.
the lessons that we've learned, My dad was my hero. Lost him 10 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And, but
Same time.
still feels very present. So, you did not originate the role of Gloria on Young and the Restless. So, talk about how that came about.
Joanne Van Ark.
Joanne Van Ark, who also did nighttime. What did she, was it?
Well, it's a very small business if you think about it. But she and Ted Shackelford, who became my big love on Young and the Restless, they did Dallas, then Knots Landing.
That's right. Knots Landing was the big spinoff,
yeah,
and that was her spinoff.
And she and it was a challenge for her. It's a challenge for a lot of actors who've never done daytime or haven't done enough theater.
The schedule's
to know
tough.
how and to learn how that much dialogue and to have that. And so it was a challenge for her. So she decided to leave. They decided to let it go. And I came in, and apparently Priscilla Presley, everybody in town was auditioning for that part. And I walked in and auditioned, and Marnie, the casting director, said, Judith, I love you. Next time come in with a little bit of a bigger bra and maybe a little higher heels. I said, I got it. I know what you want. But I left, and I said, this one's mine. I know it's mine. And never looked back. But, keeping me humble. So I was on my way out after auditioning, third audition for all the head honchos, like the Dallas audition. All the head honchos, and I left, and I got in the car, and I called my agent. I said, if I don't get this, I don't know what. This one's mine. And all of a sudden, thank God I didn't turn my phone off, and 2 minutes later, he calls. He said, don't leave. You got to come back. You got the part. You got to sign more papers first thing in the morning at CBS. Yes. And I'm looking, where am I going to stay? I haven't been in L.A. in a while. And I saw a Holiday Inn Express, and I said, I've seen those commercials. And pulled in and lived there for 7 months.
Wow.
An Indian family, the grandmother with her sari, and James with his reputation for being an Indian, his Indian crazy. So it was all serendipitous. And but the next day, so I said, James, I got to go back and go sign papers. We got the job. And da-da-da. So he calls me the next morning. He said, listen, on your way home, would you run down south and to the big Indian stores? I need 500 pounds of rice and two big cases of Indian chutney for the restaurant. I said, okay, keeping
Back
me
to
humble.
real life.
Keeping me humble. So
That's been...
that was 2005.
Yeah. And that's kind of the part that keeps giving. Like, I know it sort of comes and goes. And I know that you're always very grateful.
More go these days.
But I know that you're always kind of excited, and it's fun to jump back into that.
It's fun.
And you really enjoy... I know that the co-stars that work with you, particularly...
The sons.
The sons, yeah.
I have the best TV family, and unfortunately, they just slowly over the years just decimated it. Ted left the show; he had not been in good health, but he's, we still talk. And what are you gonna do? You moan about it, you agonize about it. You say, I guess they didn't think I was very good. I guess they didn't think I was pretty enough. Oh, shut up. My mother, great advice. She one day, it was something of belly aching. She said, Judy, never want to go to a party that you're not invited to. I went, Mother, that's great. That's great. So
That's really good advice.
So when they call, it's like, oh, what a nice paycheck I'm getting today.
Well, they still call. I mean,
they do.
Gloria is still.
Gloria will never disappear. I will haunt them.
So your characters have been described as vixens, as you were the kind of the scary character at times on set.
On set? Under my character? Or
on
me
the show?
Personally?
No, not personally.
What do you, Randy? Don't antagonize the guest.
Don't get me started.
So do you like playing the vixen?
It's so much easier. It's so much more fun. I know maybe not so much anymore, but I always had a little angel face. Now it's a little tiny thing, and yeah, hell yeah. It's much more fun to be naughty and bad and do all this stuff. So, no, I've had great fun. But at first I just went, no, I do nighttime. I do feature films. I don't do soap operas. No, it's a great way to start your career and a great way to sort of wind down. But, I just did a film with Will Smith, that ill-fated thing playing the Nancy Reagan.
Right, Nancy Reagan. So you mentioned... You had this part. You never said what it was. You kind of dropped a hint.
I did. I did this before I got cast. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. But then you did the big reveal with the picture with you made up, and it was remarkable, like spitting image.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
I am a chameleon.
You are.
I am a chameleon. You know, and I know this, and that's one of the things I love about the work that I do and what I try to instill in actors that I'm working with. You know, I'm to go unnamed, but some of the actors, they just say that repeat the same thing, same character, same bag of tricks. And I say, no, stretch it out a bit. Let's do this and try this. So
That's the director in you.
Yeah, that's the director in me. I said,
So do you do that on set? So when you're playing a part and you're casting a part, but you're working with other actors, you kind of
I
try
would
to pull
go,
stuff.
Well, for a while I had the beautiful restaurant on Young and the Restless called Glowworm. I mean, where they got that name, I don't know. It's actually a creature. But these young
Not
kids...
sure we want to eat there.
Exactly.
They only have one thing on the menu.
Shake and stirred or fried.
They're fresh. They're fresh today.
They're fresh today. Just brought in. But there would be, these young actors, atmosphere. I love it, atmosphere. And they'd just be sitting there like this, a couple or like this. And I go and I said, your husband just called. He knows you're here with her or you're here with him. And they'd go, I said, there you go. Now you're doing something. Fill the moment. Don't just sit here and be a slug, a glowworm.
What a value to have someone like that on set.
Yeah.
I mean, I would. Let's talk about Vivian.
Okay.
Because I know that was really something very close to your heart.
Very close to my heart. I did it. I made it happen. I toured. It cost me a ton of money.
It was a passion project.
It was a passion project. Thank you, soap operas, that they bought me my freedom to be able to go off and do my passion projects. But I don't think I've ever worked so hard exploring the underbelly of my soul to get at the underbelly of her soul.
What drew you to Vivian Lee so?
She's damaged.
She is damaged. She was damaged.
Tallulah Bankhead. I play damaged characters, and because there's always something redeemable about them. But Vivian, I had played her at the Old Globe in a play called Orson's Shadow, about Orson Welles trying to get, as he said, Laurence Olivier out of the 15th century. So they were trying to do Ionesco's Rhinoceros. And it was a colossal failure, but I played Vivian in that. And so I just, and the director said, she just came in. She was channeling Vivian. I just knew it. It's just it's like Gloria. You just know. And I spent well over a year reading everything, watching everything, and I did it. And I told my sister sometimes, she said, how is it? I said, I can't do it anymore. I said, to be honest, I said, I feel it would be easier to die than to go on stage and have to do that again.
Wow.
Going through the insanity, stripping off clothes, all by myself. I mean, down to a slip. I mean, nothing obscene. And, but once I got started, I would just be, not stage fright. It wasn't stage fright, but just the agony and the ecstasy of playing somebody. As she said, I live in my extremes. And I think I do too.
Did that stay with you when you weren't performing?
Yes. I'm not one of those people. I'm not one of those actors who can, okay, put it in the closet, I'll be back. It's there.
It lives in you.
It's there. Yeah. It's there. And
well, you
I
are
wish
a comedian
I could.
because, as with the Nancy Reagan thing, the Vivian, just a spitting image.
Thank
Remarkable.
You. Thank you. I know a little Revlon beauty from a bottle. No. She will. It's because I put something about my alter. I said two of my favorite alter egos, Gloria and playing Tallulah Bankhead. Tallulah. And somebody said, well, what about Vivian? And I said, Vivian will always be at the top of the pantheon of my work. Always.
Was there anything that you found in yourself doing that character that surprised you?
That I could.
Really?
Could, yeah.
That's it had to be a hard part to play.
I rehearsed it for so long, Patrick and Randy. I rehearsed it for so long and studied so much, and I tried so many different things. And even after opening and I had my premiere in L.A., then I did a fundraiser for Ron Salona, for when he was still in his little box, and who? Oh God, what's his name? Who owns Spencer's?
Harold Madison.
Harold. And I've known Harold for years. And Harold comes back and he comes to me. I said, Harold, get out of here. I'm getting ready to go on stage. Go. And so he was there. And after, we always had a little wine, or Ron had a little wine and cheese thing for everybody. And Ron comes up and he said, Harold just told me to go out and buy proper theater chairs for the theater and send him the bill. So thank you, Harold. He was so supportive and everything. But I don't know. I loved her. And sometimes I hated her. Sometimes I sided with Laurence Olivier. I don't blame you for getting rid of her. She was bad. I mean, she was wicked and wonderful and so apologetic when she was naughty the next day. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. But I couldn't help myself. And I went, oh, that's my excuse.
Do you ever wake up in the morning in character?
Depends on what time I went to bed. I don't know. No, but that's when I would get my best work done. At 5 o'clock in the morning, just the quiet, study lines.
Got it.
All right, so now you're directing Aces.
Aces.
So that's a project that's going to last for a little while.
Another month or 5-6 weeks.
What do you want to do next?
Well, I'm helping Melissa Niederman, our wonderful Melissa Niederman, with her American Cancer. I've done performing on stage.
You were Lady Gaga.
I did Lady Gaga with our wonderful, God rest his soul, John Callahan, my buddy from General Hospital. And then last year I did Liza's Cabaret. So, and now I just want to be a judge. I want to watch. I don't need to do it. I don't have to prove anything anymore.
It's like the Peter Sellers movie.
Which one?
Being there. I just like to watch.
God, I was just watching a film last night. Oh, it's called something Empire of Light with Amanda Coleman, wonderful other actors, and they have a clip. It's a movie theater, and one of the clips they showed was Peter in being there, and it flashed back because I had the good fortune of going to the Cannes Film Festival a couple of times. And had lunch at the Sam Goldwyn Palme d'Or, big long table, and I was sitting directly across from Peter Sellers.
Wow.
And his then new young wife, I can't remember her name. And he just never said a word. Excuse me, just never said a word. It was just like, oh God, this poor guy. And I was like, hi, Mr. Sellers. I said, just don't even talk to him. Just don't even talk to him.
Yeah, speaking of damaged people, yeah. He certainly was. Remarkable talent.
You can't put that much out unless you're one of these ones that only put this much out. Yeah, but if you go to the underbelly of your soul, it's going to hurt you. It's going to cause you problems. And I know my time here is drawing nigh, but I also had the good fortune to work with Orson Welles. I did one of those crazy commercials when he had their Sell No Wine Before It's Time.
I will sell no wine.
I was the principal. And a young man, and we were the principal for champagne commercials for a holiday, and he was there like this, the big bow, and bless his heart, he couldn't say his lines. He couldn't, and we kept having to.
What a tragedy.
No, it was. I felt so badly for him, and all these idiot extras and whatnot, and I knew the director. I'd worked with him before. And he said, Judith, we're just going to have to call in the executives, the advertising, the writers, and everybody. And so we were told, dismissed. Everybody go out. A huge house in Brentwood. Everybody go out on the lawn. Do not look at Mr. Wells. Do not get in his eyesight.
do not make eye contact.
Do not. And the hair on the back of my neck is like, really? Really?
That's a challenge.
So, exactly. So this thing, and I'm sitting at the end.
Vivian came out.
Yeah.
Vivian, Tallulah, they all came out.
Tallulah, yeah.
Hey, listen, I've been practicing those parts all of my life, rehearsing those parts. And I'm sitting there reading a magazine, and he's sitting in a chair, this huge floor fan, keeping him cool. And he's like this, with his feet up on a little stool. And all of a sudden, I hear this, "It's nice to be beautiful, isn't it?" I ignored him.
How do you ignore Orson Welles?
It took everything I had. And then about 10 seconds later, it was like, "It's nice to be beautiful, isn't it?" And I took the magazine down, and I said, "Yes, Mr. Wells, and it's even nicer to be told." And that, I just got goosebumps.
Wow.
That was my cue to go over. And I went over, and he took his feet off the stool, and I sat at his feet, looking up at this man. And I said, "I'm Judith. I'm in the commercial with you." And he went, "Yeah." I said, "How's it going for you in the business?" And I'm like, "Well, my agent is just, they don't send me out as often as I'd like." And the voice in the back of my head is going, "You're talking to one of the greatest theatrical great literary everything directors of the 20th century. And he just looked at me and listened, and we talked and chatted for about 15 minutes or so. And then his power, he just did something. And I knew it was my cue to leave. And I said, well, thank you so much, Mr. Wells. I'll see you on set. And I left. Highlight of my career. One of the highlights of my career. Because I didn't listen. I didn't pay attention to what they told me to do. And he finally got... It shows up on YouTube. You can find it. But sadly, some of the lines he was slurring. And it was really sad.
Oh, I've seen those clips where he's the bloopers from those commercials.
Well, that's me. I'm looking very young in a little blue dress.
I'll have to go back and look. I love that.
Yeah, they pop up every once in a while.
And you were involved with the Actors Studio?
Yes. I auditioned for the Actors Studio right before I moved to L.A. And I auditioned, and I found out that Arthur Penn was the guy, but all these actors were smoking and doing this, and I had an actor friend. I said, okay, I'm doing Maggie the Cat. I'm cutting all of your lines, and da-da-da, and so you're going... So I had this kimono on, so I walked on set, and I don't care. I didn't have a bra on. What do I care? But I'm facing, the judges, and all of a sudden I just turned. Now I'm going war. I'm doing Vivian Lee, Elizabeth Taylor, and I said, those no-neck monsters and da. And I passed. And then my next audition was out here at the Actors Studio. It used to be on DeLong Prairie in Hollywood. I guess it still is. And the moderator was for what's his face? Who's the old man?
Actors Studio?
Yeah.
James Lipton?
Yeah, James.
No. The original.
Oh.
And it just went blank. He was in The Godfather. He played. Oh my God! Forgive me. You know what I'm talking about. Anyway, and I got through my first and second audition, which is very rare. So I'm very proud to be a life member. And when I went in one weekend, and Shirley Winters was moderating, and I knew Shirley because she was godmother to somebody who played a little boy who played my son. And these actors come on stage and they start crawling around on the floor. And I'm like, what the heck are you people doing? All of a sudden, she said, with more profanity, but she said, what the are you doing here? Oh, we're exploring the animal stage of our characters, and she said, get the heck out of this theater. Go home and do that stuff at home. I'm like, yes, Shirley, yes. So, anyway, my Actors Studio.
I love that.
But I'm still a member. Fun, huh?
Super fun.
Thank you.
I've learned an awful lot. We've known each other, not well, but we've known each other 20 years.
Easily.
I've learned so much about you today.
Thank you.
He was so excited about doing this podcast today. It made me excited.
He said you were excited.
I am so thrilled to have you
excited.
here.
I was very excited.
Thank you, Randy. My pleasure.
Well, my wife and I got into soap operas during Luke and Laura, so that kind of started it for us.
Yeah.
And she stayed watching her stories for many years after that.
I know. Everybody loves their stories. Yeah. It's just, and I've done a lot of them. I've done a lot of them over the years, but thank God I've always had the blessings to go back and do other stuff.
Thank you for sharing. This has really been a fantastic
It's given you a great platform to do. I mean, without soap operas, you never would have done Vivian.
No. If I'd gotten Dallas, I would never have done Vivian, probably. I would have done soap operas. So, the Lord gives, the Lord says.
If you got in Star Wars, you'd still be... There's another sequel coming out for sure.
Well, that's the thing, I was talking about this at the thing at Palm Canyon Theater the other day, a fundraiser for that, and I was hosting it. And I said, look at what these kids are doing up here. They're singing, they're performing, they're having, one time they're playing Shrek the Ogre. Now they're doing Annie from Orphan Annie. And, the variety, the diversity on stage. And then in television, they're like, oh, ma'am, where were you on the night of the murder? They're making a ton of money, but not much excitement.
All right, I know that you're going to be busy with Aces.
Yes.
But would you come back and do another one?
I'd love to.
Because I feel like we've just kind of scratched the surface here.
I want to get into that Vixen conversation a lot deeper.
Yes, you've mentioned that to me before.
Now, does your wife know about that?
She's out of town.
She's out of town.
Today, by the way, I should mention, today is Randy and Kay's 42nd wedding anniversary.
Mazel tov.
She's in
Mazel
Vegas.
tov.
She's in
He's
Vegas
here.
celebrating our anniversary.
After 42 years, she needs the breaks.
I look a lot better from distance. That's what I've discovered.
I want to tell you, 42 years is a big deal because based on the length of my very first marriage, it would take about 14 more wives to get to 42 years. So
I have a very simple. I've decided if it lasts less than a year, it should be an automatic annulment.
it should be.
Like, what do they say in golf? A Gilligan or a mulligan?
Mulligan,
A
yeah.
Mulligan, yeah, not a mulligan.
You get
It's just practice at that point.
That's
Yeah,
right.
there you go.
Well, we're both very lucky. We have great wives. And
We do.
happy anniversary to you.
Thank you very
Happy
much.
anniversary.
Thank you. This
Well,
is a great way to
cheers,
spend
gentlemen.
it.
And our 6th anniversary is coming. So, Judith, this has been an absolute delight.
Thank you, dear.
Love having you on. And
Always a pleasure. Thank you for letting me gab so much.
Oh no, we're going to
Look forward to the next time.
because there's a lot more to talk about.
There is.
So we drop episodes about every other week, and we'd invite you to join us for Big Conversations at Little Bar. We're available on all of your favorite podcast streaming sites. John McMullen, our engineer, producer,
Extraordinary.
He wears a lot of hats.
He does.
But he makes sure that we get out there. And we appreciate your listenership. We appreciate Skip. He was just wandering around letting us do it here at Little Bar because it makes it a much more relaxed, fun. So thank you.
Thanks for listening to Big Conversations Little Bar. Join Randy and Patrick next time as we keep the conversation going right here on Big Conversations Little Bar.